Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dela Criss, and this is my husband,
Meyer.
Meyer Criss. Welcome back. We're starting a new series today. Well, I am. Meyer's just joining me for this video. It's going to be called Challenging Conversations. And so it's just stemmed out of the fact that, one, if you're familiar with the Enneagram, I'm an 8 on the Enneagram, which is a challenger. And people have always told me, including you, that like I'm good at having just hard, challenging conversations in a loving way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I just wanted to start doing this on my channel where I just tackle things that are hard or challenging to talk about. And so sometimes it'll just be me talking with you guys. Sometimes I'll have a guest on. And we'll just be covering those things that are like people don't really talk about. And I'm going to do it from a Christian worldview. I'm not a theologian or anything like that. But I just want to do it from a biblical worldview, but also do it in a way that's loving and full of grace. And so that's the goal. And so if you have any ideas, any topics, once you see this first video that you want us to talk about, just leave them below in the comments. So today we've been married, not today, but this year we've been married for 5 years. And it's been the best 5 years of our lives, right, babe? And so we want to talk to y'all about 5 challenging things that we have learned in the past 5 years of marriage, or 5-ish. Meyer kept saying these are not.
It's not 5.
I was like, that's okay. They don't care. So 5 things that we learned. We only been married for 5 years, so take it with a grain of salt. But yeah, we're just sharing you our thoughts, and we're not experts. So we know that we're putting ourselves out there. But one thing that I always say is like, I really believe that transparency leads to transformation. And so I think a lot of times we find ourselves, especially as Christians, like going to church, sitting in a chair, like worshiping together, and then like we get up and get in our cars and we leave, and like your marriage could be in shambles.
Shambles.
Is that right?
You say shampoo?
I don't know what I said, but like your marriage could
could be rough, bro.
Yeah, it could be falling apart, and you don't know anybody, or you just feel like you have to put on this front. So we try our hardest not to do that. We all fall into that, but we try not to do that. And so that's why we're being transparent with you guys, in hopes that maybe it'll help you guys. Okay, so I'm gonna hop in. Number 1, I'm not even gonna start with the number 1 thing, because then it'll throw whatever. I'm not gonna number them. I'm just gonna say them. So since there's not exactly 5, the first thing is the importance of healing and releasing from past relationships. And so this is huge for us. Whenever I was even just now telling Meyer like what we're gonna talk about, like what I was gonna say for this point, like he almost forgot. But I remember vividly, like when we first got married in our first year of marriage, it was rough. And I remember just having to heal from like a soul tie from my previous relationship. And so if you're single, if you don't know what a soul tie is, I'm not here to start a debate or whatever, but pretty much it's just like when you have sex with someone, you're not married to them, a part of you is married to them, and you carry them like into your life, like after that. And so some people agree, some people don't, but I experienced it myself, so I believe it. And so I remember being married to him and just feeling like I'd just be crying sometimes in the closet, and I just feel like you don't love me like my ex-boyfriend loved me. It's funny now, but it wasn't funny then. And so and I'd just be crying, or I'd be like, you don't believe in me the way that he believed in me, and just all this nonsense. And really what it is like, you know how you romanticize what used to be, and you make things in the past bliss when they weren't. And so
the Bible talks about that.
It does? Oh, okay. So yeah, just I remember doing that, and that was just so hard. And so if you're single, just, you know, minimize all that in your life. And I remember doing that. I remember you had to call me out of that, really, and that was really helpful for me. I'd be like, well, you're not as kind to me. And I remember one time Meyer goes, no, he just let you walk all over him. And so anyways, I really had to set some boundaries around that, like unfriend people on Facebook if you if you find yourself going back into that. So, and it wasn't just me. Like, it was, I think it's hard for you to, like, whenever I was pregnant and I had a little baby I had one under 2 and I was pregnant and it was rough. And as soon as marriage got rocky, I feel like that's when exes slide in your DMs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Expound.
Huh?
Expound.
No, I just feel like, I mean, are you saying should you expound?
Yeah.
Or just like you can kind of talk through like how do you create boundaries around that, like, or what was that like, or how did you bounce back, or like, yeah, do you feel like it was strategic?
No, it was difficult. I had to be strategic about like, all right, so what are avenues in which they can like reach base or touch base with me? So I have to cut those avenues. So like, well, if they have your number, delete the number.
Mm-hmm.
Delete or change your number.
Mm-hmm.
Delete their number or change your number. Take them off social media.
Yeah. Social media is a huge boundary. Like, social media is really out here trying to make people not be married. Like, no, for real. Like, Snapchat, I know that's not relevant anymore, but anything that you can send stuff and you can delete or anything. So one thing that helps me is like, one thing that helps me is like, if my husband can't read my DMs or like my messages or my comments, then they don't need to be happening. Or if there's someone that's always commenting in my messages but they don't comment on my picture, then they don't want the best for our marriage. Would you agree?
If they comment on your messages,
like they don't ever comment on your picture that everybody can
I get what you're
see,
saying.
but they shoot you a message, that was so cute, or hey, how you been? No, like if you want to check in on me, you check on me on my, you know what I mean?
Yeah, on the feed.
On the feed where everybody can see.
Yeah.
And that leads me to like just setting boundaries. So
it's the second one.
Is this the second one?
Yeah.
It's second-ish.
Second-ish.
So creating boundaries around social media, that's what we're talking about, but also at work. Like, so when I was working outside the home, I worked in a male-dominant field and always have. And then Meyer works in a female-dominant field for the most part. Even the coaching part, you're with men, but
yeah, and
teaching, like, you're with women. And so, like, we just have some boundaries set up, and other people might think it's extra, but we don't care. So for us, like, a big one is we just don't give rides. We don't give opposite sex rides. Like, if we're all going to a work function after work, there have been times where we were all leaving the office and going to a social where I could have just rode with someone, it would have made sense, but I didn't do that. And then even Meyer, like, if a student or even a teacher, like, needs a ride, and we're dramatic. Like, it don't matter if that person is the last person stranded at work. Like, we don't do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's Uber, there's...
I'll just wait for your ride to come. I ain't paying for Uber, but...
No, they can pay for their own Uber, or...
I know,
like,
but I'm saying I'll wait till the ride come. Mm-hmm. I ain't gonna pay for Uber.
Yeah, because sometimes with coaching, like, he coaches girls soccer, so some coaches, they will take their students home. We just don't do it. Like, the Bible also talks about living above reproach, and I think that's huge. That's huge. Like, you don't even need to look like it, and you don't even have that much faith in yourself. That's what I've learned, is like lower your standard, because like the flesh is weak. Like, even the Bible talks about that too. Even though your spirit is willing, the flesh is weak. And so it reminds me of like at work. I hope this video isn't forever long, y'all, but I'm trying to help give y'all details. But it reminds me of, at work, remember when I told you about that guy that was in my office, like from the headquarters? Do you remember that?
No,
I hope I'm not digging myself in a hole. But there's a guy that I'm not easily, I guess because that's a woman thing, but I'm not easily like distracted by like, oh, he's so fine. That doesn't ever distract me. But there was a guy in the office, and he was like, he was attractive, but very arrogant. So usually not someone that I would be really attracted to. But then like working together and like him making jokes and like doing all these things, and I realized that like when I got home, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm carrying that with me. So for women, I think it's more like emotional. Like, you can emotionally cheat, right? Like, you can, men can do that too. But just, I remember telling you about it, and I was like, I don't know what this is. And you were like, oh, I mean, that's sexual tension, right? Like, because he would...
Did I say that?
You did, because I didn't know it was a thing, but apparently you had already been battling that thing, right? Like when you... It's like... sexual tension is a real thing. So it's like, so for me, it was like, okay, I'm moving Des, which sounds dramatic. I'm moving Des. He just traveled in and out, like he would fly in and out. So it wasn't that big of a deal. But moving Des, I'm taking captive thoughts. And it wasn't like, oh, he's so fine, I want to cheat on my husband. But I don't even like the idea of thinking about a coworker when I'm at home with my husband. Like, I think that's not appropriate. Would you say? Yeah. So I snipped that stuff in the butt, like, because it can so easily go wrong. And I think that was a humbling moment for me, because I'm like, how would people cheat on their spouse? Like, I love my spouse. It ain't about love. It's about, like, right, boundaries, self-control, honor, all those things. And that takes intentionality. I think it goes back to that intentionality. It's not about, like, you love me, I love you more than I would love this arrogant dude at the office, but it's not about that. Like, lust is real, all those things are real. So I think just setting those boundaries and not having too much faith in yourself. Okay, people pleasing. You can please people and only take advice from people that you would want to switch lives with.
Yeah, true.
And so I can't say that I was a people pleaser, but I love people and I want people to be happy and I want everybody to live in harmony. And so Meyer helped me, like, kind of release this and realize, like, this is our marriage. And so what we decide for our marriage is just what we decide for our marriage, no matter what it makes other people feel like. Because at the end of the day, you know, like, I have to answer for my marriage and my family and the littles that I'm raising. And so, like, I had to learn to release when people would say stuff and have a problem with what we're doing. And I think if you're dating, that's huge, because even when we were dating, we decided, man, forget this engagement. Like, we're going to get married in 7 months. Myra's like, who are we doing this for? And so then that caused a lot of ruckus. But it's crazy, the ruckus that, man, when you're about to get married, the things that cause friction and stuff with people, 9 times out of 10, they're going to cause friction even while you're married. Would you say that? Like, so when you decide you're going to take a stance, like, okay, we live for Christ, we do this, this, and this, the same people that have a problem with that, they're probably going to have a problem with it later. So it's almost like you decide, like, no matter what, like, hell or hot water, whatever.
Hell or hot water?
Hot water. Let's say hot water. Like, you gotta decide we're in this thing regardless of what people say. And then as far as taking advice, we love wisdom, but you cannot be taking advice from any and everybody. Even if, I don't care if they're related to you, I don't care if they're your best friend, I don't care. But I heard this summer and it was so good for me. It's like, you only take advice from somebody you would switch lives with. Like, so someone might be married for 30 years, they might think they can spit you some knowledge, but if I would not switch lives with you, like, I know more about your marriage, I know that you don't talk respectfully to your husband, or y'all ain't never together, all those things, then I'm not really gonna take advice from you, because I don't want my marriage to look like that. Versus someone who is older and they have wisdom, they love the Lord, and they submit to one another, and like those things, that's what I want in my marriage. So I'm gonna take a seat and I'm gonna listen to that person, right?
Oh, good. What? I mean, he would.
Okay, and then I'm trying to hurry through this because this video is already long. The importance of community. We switched churches because when we were going through one of the harder seasons of our marriage, like, I remember just feeling like, okay, we're going to church, we tired, we're walking up in here, nobody even knows we're struggling, like, what are we doing this for? And so I think that, like, getting in community, joining a small group at our church has really, it made all the difference. Like, I think we tell anyone, like, our marriage was healed, like, in small group, because we were in a season where we couldn't afford counseling. Like, that's just real. Like, I know people say, oh, you know, getting counseling, that's great if you can afford it. I think you should do it. But if you can't, I would say don't underestimate the counsel of the wise. And so that was really powerful. I mean, do you have anything to say about, especially men? Because I know for women, like, we have the gift of, we're very relational. But as a man, what does that mean for you, like, to be in community? Or what has that done for you?
Just someone I can open up with. Whether it's 1 or 2 people. Preferably somebody that's married or in a serious relationship, because they'll be able to see eye to eye with you. Also, a present father. Not just one that is in the house, but one that's with the kids.
What do you mean a present father? I don't understand that.
Oh, because if you are absent father.
Oh, you're saying you like being in community with other fathers that are present.
Because that's if you're an absent father, then you view work differently.
Yeah.
You view time with the wife and kids differently. So, yeah, but it's just good to have somebody that sees eye to eye with you.
Do you need a lot of people? Because I'm like my husband is an
one
introvert. Yeah, he like
I'm
he
straight with
one or two. So like, if you're a guy out there or you're a woman watching this, like if your husband can just get one or two godly men that they feel comfortable with, I've seen you see a big difference. Isolation is like from the devil. This isn't the last one. Second to last one. Okay, the importance of good sex and prioritizing it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So when I got married, people would say, you know, like, I think especially in the Christian community, it's like, oh, your husband's gonna need sex from you, like, you know, that's gonna be important, make sure you do that, and that's it, right? Like, I feel like we can do such a better job at equipping like women or just young Christian couples with this in general. But like, we'll do we're gonna have to do a whole nother video on this, but just like everyone talks about, oh, your husband's gonna need it a lot, but not just like, I wish someone would have told me like just how you, like, again, back to the soul ties, if you prioritize this in your marriage, it can tie you together to a place where like you're thinking about each other when you're at work and you want to get home to each other and you want to do those things, and you want to get better and you want to get creative and right, like all the things, and just talking, like we talk about it and we figure out, okay, how is this pleasing you? Is this, you know, all those things, and is this working, is this not working? And it changes once you have kids and you add another kid and bodies change and all the things change, and so that is super 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 important. And do you have anything to add to that? Nothing?
I mean, I don't know.
No, I think that's so important. And also like guarding it. That's what we talked about too. Guarding this part of your marriage is like, so fatigue is a huge thing. If you don't have kids, you'll know what I mean when you have some kids. But fatigue is a huge thing that can like lower the woman's sex drive. Men can be tired as dogs and still want that.
Be like good,
ready to go in 30 seconds. But for women, so for us, one thing is like, we base our life, like, are we in balance based off if I have the energy to do that at the end of the day. And so people won't tell you this. They'll be like, oh, I worked, I did all the things, and you know, we stayed married, but they won't tell you that it made their marriage, it took them to a bad place. And so for us, a good factor is like, if I'm dead, which I'm still dead tired with the kids sometimes at the end of the day, and I do work from home and stuff like that, and part-time, but for us, it's like, okay, if I'm too dead tired and then they do this, then something is off, right? Like, that's kind of like our gauge because it has to be a priority. It has to be, and your number or whatever, I'm a numbers person. And so that was helpful for us in our marriage. I'm like, okay, how many times a week do you need this? And then I gave him a number, and it's like, okay, let's meet in the middle. And that's helpful for me because I'm a numbers person, results person. And so even though we're not making it rigid, like, okay, he's not giving me an end of the year review, but
like, homie, hey, bro, it's only been this amount of time.
Yeah, but it's helpful, like, for me to know, like, okay, I'm pleasing my husband this way and he's pleasing me in this way, because then I feel loved, he feels loved. It's a whole thing. So we'll do another video on that. But if this is like, if you're newly married and that's something that you're like, oh, we don't even like sex, what? We do that once a month or less, I would say seek help, right? Seek counsel, seek guidance, or just even reading and just prioritizing.
Seek community.
Seek community where you can be honest, because in even some Christian community, you can't talk about that.
That's true. That's real.
And that's a problem. Like, we can't be having all these married couples in here struggling in this department, but then when you weren't married, it wasn't a struggle. Or, you know, it's people in the world having better sex lives than married Christian folks. Okay. Last one is conquering things together, dreaming together, having vision together about your life and your marriage. I think this is huge. And just speaking life together. Speaking life over your marriage. Because I remember thinking when we first got married, what the heck did I do? Get me out of here. I married the wrong person. And I think a lot of people think that, right? Like, I think it's an honest thing that people don't talk about. But the moment I started speaking life over our marriage, the moment I started thinking like, we started dreaming together, like what we could be and what we felt like God put in our hearts when we were even dating. I think that's when things shifted and changed. Like for me, going back to our first year in marriage, I'm just like, that doesn't even feel like the same couple. Like it was hard for me to even remember these things that we shared with you guys. And so, yeah, just having a vision together, chasing our financial goals together. That's what a lot of our channel, like a lot of y'all found us that way, because we do the hard things together. Like we decided we're finna get out of debt. And we do it together. Like we don't have separate bank accounts. We do, but not like separate. We have separate bank accounts for different goals and stuff that we're doing. But a lot of people are like, keep your finances separate. You're not going to get anywhere that you want to go as a married couple, keeping all of your dreams and goals and stuff separate. So like we try to envision like the next 5 years together, 10 years together. If you're doing this in your career and I'm doing this, how does that merge together? What does that mean for our family? Right? Okay. That's it. And so Myra's my first challenging conversation. Thank you, babe.
Yeah. I'm honored.
You're honored. You should be honored. But if you're new to our channel, please subscribe. Comment below any topics or anything that you guys want us to cover. We love you guys. We'll see y'all later. Bye.